It's a tremendous honor and a real pleasure to be speaking at this gathering this afternoon. In fact, I see this as a blending of two of the things that have made a tremendous difference in my life. Two things that have impacted me in many, many positive ways. Two entities that I really believe contributed to who I am as a human being. Of course, I'm talking about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and libraries in general, and the Flint Library in particular. Before I go on and talk about the main reason we're here today, let me put a shameless plug in for this library and all libraries. If there is one institution that we take for granted more than a library, I don't know what it is. Were you aware that 5 times as many people visit a library every year as visit all the professional and college basketball, football, baseball, hockey games combined? And you can even throw in the attendance for the Detroit Lions, too. And yet libraries are under constant assault from spending and funding cuts. Author Isaac Asimov said, "When I hear how library funds are being cut and cut, I can only think that American society has found one more way to destroy itself." We need to fully support the library in any way we can. They provide services such as the many programs here for young people and older people alike. They have story times for the tots and wonderful resources for adults. Last February, the library had a program where author Eric Etheridge and former freedom writer Miller Green came and spoke. This ties in nicely with our Flint heritage because I can remember a young man from my neighborhood way back in the early 60s, a young man named Charles Tyler, who was 18 or 19 at the time, and he actually became a freedom writer. I remember him coming over to my house and telling my mother that, and she said, "I don't think it's safe, don't do it." He felt the urge so strongly that he did it anyway. Who other than a library would bring this to our community? On a personal level, they've always been a refuge for me. As a very young child, my father used to bring my siblings and me here to this very library. He was studying labor law at the time, and he'd go over to the section over there, and he'd drop us off into the kids section over there. And it was a wonderful thing. It's where I learned to fall in love with the library. I also write in the library, and they're still extremely important to me. I wrote my first book in the Windsor Public Library, and the librarians there were unfailingly kind and supportive. Of course, they had no idea who I was at first. I was just this person working in a warehouse who would come to the library every day and write. In fact, they thought, the way the library is situated in Windsor, the next block is a hospital. The 6th floor of that hospital is a psychiatric unit. They thought I was from the psychiatric unit. I would come to the library. For some reason, I found the children's section was the place I wanted to write. After the librarians finally thought, okay, there's nothing wrong with this guy, I would sit and I'd write. And when I write, I'm really into the story. And some of the time I'm writing and I'll break out laughing. Or if it's something emotional, I'll cry. So there was another guy that came to the library all the time and sat right across from me, and he was the numbers guy. He was from the psychiatric unit. And he would write line after line of numbers. And I found out that the librarians called him the numbers guy and me the emotional guy. So please, let's give this library every type of support that we can. I love the library, even though their very existence violates one of the tenets by which I live. As Anatole France said, never lend books. No one ever returns them. As a matter of fact, the only books I have at home in my library are books that I borrowed from somebody else.